Welcome back to another episode of Apex Mountain, the YouTube series, Yellowstone. This week we are going to go over episode 8, the Unravelling Part 1 of Yellowstone Season 1. Then we're going to actually watch the Part 2 live. We're going to obviously chop it up for you and show you the good moments. But let's start off. First off, Bud, how are you doing? This is my good friend Jacob, and he's with me weekly. How are you doing?
Yep, I'm doing pretty good. I just watched episode 8 right before we started, so it's still kind of fresh. So I'm excited to jump right into it.
I think that's probably better, especially for the new person, because now I've seen it twice. I know what's going on. So with that being said, let's get into it. So let's see. Within this episode, we see how Rip ended up making it to the ranch when he was a kid. Casey's home gets ransacked. We're not really sure what happened with that. Rip has terrible luck with visitors on the ranch, apparently.
Oh my God, awful. They all die or almost die.
We also start to understand who the reporter is. Beth continues to fuck with Jenkins. That seems to be a common term. Sure. Monica leaves Casey, so he beats the shit out of a homeless man.
Oh my God, he really does.
And then I believe it's this episode, John kicks Jamie's ass.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Good.
It might happen both episodes. Who knows? But
well, I was like, fuck. Was that the first of the next one? I can't remember. Anyway,
I could see it happening twice.
What did you think of episode 8?
It starts off hot with meeting Kid Rip because I didn't know who that was supposed to be, and I was almost concerned I was watching the wrong show because I was like, do I know this kid? I'm pretty sure I haven't met him yet. The date did help though, 97 I think it said at the beginning, so it did put it kind of in a good reference for me. That was interesting and sad and fucking crazy. Like his dad is stabbing his mom as he's like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah,
so it really sets the tone for this episode, I think.
That's for sure. If you noticed, John's younger self is always that guy with the mustache, and the dude looks so familiar, and I always want to look up and see who it is.
It's the Sweet Home Alabama guy.
Yes.
I don't remember his name, but so I can kiss you anytime I want. That's him. That's him.
You're so right. I'm like, dude, I know who that is. Yep. And they do look, similar,
I think he's like the cooler version though, for sure, because like, I don't know, he's kind of like laid back and cool, and something has clearly happened to John between these flashbacks and current John, because when we meet late 90s Sweet Home Alabama John, he seems pretty laid back and cool, and he just seems like a real asshole right now. And I guess part of that is your wife dying, but I feel like there's probably more to that.
Well, and his kids are old, and most of them are assholes right now, and there's that. So
there's that.
All right, cool. So we end up seeing Casey's house gets ransacked, and we're kind of like maybe putting pieces together. Maybe it's the guys that were flying the drone. He goes out.
Sorry, that guy's name is Josh Lucas, by the way. Shout out to Josh Lucas for being Jake from Sweet Home Alabama. Just got to get him out there. Shout out to Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Here's you, Josh.
So, this is kind of playing out to be a bigger thing. What are your thoughts on what this might be? What's going through your head?
I was listening and looking up Josh Lucas at the same time, so now I'm just focused on Sweet Home Alabama. No, it's good. So we just transitioned straight from meeting Kid Rip to going straight into dealing with the grizzly bear again, right? That's the direct transition.
Yes, I think so, but we don't get much of. No. I think we go to Casey's house first, don't we?
And then see the dinosaur bones getting taken. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I know this since I just watched it. You kind of alluded to it earlier in our recaps. I don't know. They're just kind of a nothing thing. I think it's to show the disappointment and, of the area and for the kid. And it's definitely going to lead up to a crescendo with the kid at some point. But I think what really takes most of my memory is something that's coming up later with his interaction with his wife about the kid. And I don't know, it's hard to even really pay attention to the bones being taken because there's so much more going on there.
Well, I'd say the bigger thing, is his house being ransacked. And I think with everything going on with his wife and his kid and then wife leaving him and everything, he puts the house back together and almost makes it look like nothing happened.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're looking for, but then they end up taking the bones. So it's like, We still don't know who they are, what they want.
No,
and everything.
I'm just gonna assume, I suppose, that the guy with the aircraft thing, that he's the same person who stole the bones. I think it's safe to assume that. So I guess that kind of answers the question that you asked me last week about whether or not I thought it was there to spy on Casey or to actually check out the bones. I guess it is for the bones. It still seems a little bit far fetched to me because the guy parks like a football field away. Like clearly the drone isn't like anywhere between 10 miles. It's like, how do you know the bones were there? It seems a little like just useful for plot driving purposes. Doesn't really make sense. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just ready to move on from the bones. So they were weird when I met them, and they're weird when they're gone. So
I can, at this point, I remember thinking the same thing. Like, what? This is almost irrelevant to the entire show.
Feels certainly irrelevant. I guess it kind of symbolizes, at least for me watching it for the first time, it just symbolizes like the disappointment that the kid is going through over and over again. Like anytime you're given anything, it's taken from you.
It's very
true. So maybe it's more for that than it is literally the bones.
Yeah. So then it moves right into Rip. So they're trying to get a wildlife person out there to look and see if he was self-defense with this grizzly bear. And so he's got to ride up to the ranch and grab this wildlife, fish and wildlife game man, whatever the fuck you call him.
Man, that guy was such a hard ass.
Which guy?
Yeah, the first conservation officer we meet.
Oh yeah,
he's so like God, just such like a lieutenant about everything. He barks everything he says.
So he goes and picks up the wildlife lady, and she's on her horse, and she's kind of being an asshole to him, and she takes his gun and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And then the horse gets bit by a horsefly, and she gets impaled by a T-beam, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away by that. There was so much going on there. Like, does a horse really react that poorly to one horsefly? I don't know anything about horses, so if you told me it is, then I'll go with it. But that seems like a gross overreaction by the horse's part. Yeah. And then for her to fall over a random ass fence post, that's like, what? Like, we didn't see it early. They didn't like show it to us, and we wonder as an audience 10 minutes earlier, like, what do these fence posts have to do with anything? Yeah. They don't show us anything. It's like, and the next scene, she's in a fence post. Like, okay.
This part was the biggest what the fuck moment for me in the whole series. I don't recall there being another time where I'm like, what? Why did that happen? There was no real point. For this one, I still don't understand what the point was, other than it gave us more time for the. Well, actually, the horse. Or let me think real quick. Is it the next day after the?
Yeah, it is the next day. I was judging just by the sunlight and stuff. Like if it's not, it's the longest day. Because I think he goes out there and he kills that bear, and then he calls them, right? So we meet the conservation officers that night, I presume.
I don't remember. Have wolves came yet?
The wolves are at the end of this episode. This is literally the last thing we see.
Okay, gotcha. So, it's kind of like he brings in the chopper. He gets her out of. It's still impaled in her, but she gets out. I
can't believe any moment of this. You know how much pain she would be in? You can't just like lift a fence post out of the ground. Plus,
you're in shock.
Yeah, but she's sitting there forever. Plus, like, that's a good way of killing her, is ripping a post out of the ground while she's on it, and then her like hold her weight against his body. And like, if you really had a post going through your body, you wouldn't be like, I got an idea. Let me pull this post out that's probably buried 2 feet into the ground, and then walk you around with the post in your body. Like, just wait on the helicopter.
Well, he could pull it out of the ground because those don't have concrete or anything. They're essentially sledgehammered into the ground.
Yeah, but you don't sledgehammer him 6 inches. Like, he doesn't have like the ability to really pull on it. He's got a person between him and the pole.
Well, that's true. I think
her body's corkscrewing it around. Like, it's pretty far-fetched to me that he could get it out at all, let alone with a person in between him.
I think everything that happened is plausible. Like, it's not out of the realm of happening. But what I think is, why was it all put together? Why did this happen? It's the end of the season. Is something going to happen next episode?
It felt gratuitous and pointless.
Yeah. So he gets her on the chopper and they leave, and that's the end of it. And then we just kind of move on.
Is it spoiling anything for you to tell me if we ever see her again?
I don't recall ever hearing about it or seeing it again.
It just feels like I kind of get what they're saying, that like because everything they say is kind of either symbolic or some kind of metaphor revolving around the land, where it's like anyone comes here, they pay the price, that you are cursed, just like Brad Paisley says later on in the movie or episode. It's like, you really are, like, if you come as a stranger and you're unwanted, then you die, because the hit rate so far in the show is 1,000. They're batting 1,000 on, if you're not wanted here, you get killed somehow.
Yeah.
And then if you are wanted here, you still almost get killed frequently, like Casey. So I don't know. I kind of get it from that perspective. But as far as plot goes, like, her falling and getting hurt and all that crap was just kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm just getting tired of it. Like, can't we just say, like, oh, conservation can't make it till tomorrow, and then have the wolves eat it? Like, do we need someone to almost die and get impaled for us to go to the next day?
I think it was supposed to be one of those shock factor things, but again, this is
It was
one
unwarranted.
of the, listeners, if you have a better reason for this, please explain it to us, because this is, again, I'm saying this is the most and biggest and really one of the only what the fuck is going on moments. There's been others.
Seriously.
But this is just kind of out there and for no good reason that I understood. So
it doesn't feel like to me that it doesn't feel to me like it needed to happen. Like, whatever you're trying to convey, I feel like you could have done it without someone being impaled and another person almost dying. Like, it's starting to, like, the show at this point is almost losing its, like, if I see someone die next episode, I don't know if I'm going to have a big shock factor, because they've had so much death leading up to this episode, and it's been so consistent that I have this lack of shock factor. Like, her falling on that, I was like, of course she got impaled. Like, God forbid she just falls off a horse and that's it.
Yeah. Moving on. Okay. So we start to understand the reporter. She's not in town because her girlfriend or wife has a college thesis or some shit. She's there to report on the Duttons, and specifically John. And Jamie's secretary / side piece is
self-proclaimed side piece.
Yeah, is starting to catch on, and so the reporter, ends up talking to them about wanting to do a report on John, right?
Yeah, kind of. Like, she basically puts her foot in her mouth, and instead of her just being like, yeah, you got an interesting family here, she's like, well, I dug up some dirt on, like, obviously this is going to be a bad interaction if the first thing you say to Jamie's right-hand girl is like, hey, I heard some dirt about your guy. Like, there was such a poor way of executing and she even goes to her wife later and it's like, that was dumb, because it was dumb. That didn't make any sense to say or do. Of course, now you're on everybody's radar.
Yep. Which, man, without giving anything away, the reporter, that's a pretty crazy story.
Well,
I believe that's in season 2. Actually, I'm 100%. Moving on.
Okay.
All right. So Beth continues to fuck with Jenkins. Like, at this point, it's like, it's starting to get a little old, right? It's like same shit, same Beth.
Well, I'm at the point where I've been kind of tired of her. So her interactions with him bore me. I'm more interested for the climax, which I'm assuming definitely comes to a crescendo. I'm not going to say the word.
Is there another word for that word?
Crescendo is what I'm trying to say. Crescendo at next episode. I think that we're going to see Jenkins get fucked on next episode. Just kind of feels like it's ramping up for that. And I don't know. I'm more interested in him than I am in Beth at this point. She's just whatever to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's just like season 1 for Beth was kind of bland, but things really, really turn around in the next 2 seasons. And I'm excited to see what you think of that. It's weird. There's a moment and then things change, and it's pretty cool. So
I'm excited to like her, because I like her, the actress. I think she's like really cool, and she does a good job being dramatic, and she has a wide range of abilities. I think she's just written weird right now. I think is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. So then we move right into Monica, who is at the hospital talking with Casey, essentially saying, you shouldn't have even been around the fight where her brother was, right?
Right. I guess, now that you say that, yeah.
And
I was having trouble following this. I needed you to explain it to me.
Yeah, so he never wanted to tell her. She is like having different feelings now that she's hit her head for some odd reason. That changes things. And so she's saying like, I need to know what happened. And he finally says, you know, your brother he killed my brother and he was going to kill me and I had to kill him. And her
Yeah, I
issue
didn't have
is,
the choice, was what he said. Yeah.
yeah, her issue is, why were you even there? Whose side were you on? Like, what was the point? You were middleman.
I agree as well.
I do
He
too.
did not, he went there without a purpose.
And he was literally like screwing around, kind of, you know. Yeah, we didn't get that. So she said she wants to go live with her grandpa, I believe, and
who seems like the sweetest guy on planet Earth. Like,
yeah.
What a great guy. I'm sure he gets killed. He's too nice for this show.
And then so Casey's on the way home and he's getting gas and some dude holds him a knife point and he just absolutely destroys this guy.
Yeah. Well, the guy did not even have a chance. Like, what are you doing?
Well, I think I would have done the same thing Casey did. Hey, I'm out of gas. I've got my gas tank. Would you mind helping me out? Yeah, set it down. I'll add some gas to it. No. Just give me the money. No. And then
because you're gonna go buy crystal meth with it.
And then he holds a fucking like Swiss Army knife up. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It was like a $5 switchblade. I'm like, get out of here with that.
And then the sheriff's like, oh, he went too far. And it's like, what?
I feel like he was about 8 punches too far. I don't think anything up to the falling on the ground was good. I can see like making sure he can't move and holding him down and giving him a few hits, but he basically punched him until he didn't have a choice anymore because someone pulled him off. Like,
I don't see myself not doing the same thing. If somebody's holding
he went in too hard for sure.
If somebody's holding me at knife point,
which he took away and disarmed immediately.
That's deadly threat. You were going to kill me.
He's not a real deadly threat though. He's a fucking meth head, and you knocked that out of his hand immediately, and he's defensively on the ground. Like I can see holding him down and punching him.
Yeah.
But he punched him no less than 12 times.
Well,
it's I get it. I think he's down.
I think what they're getting at's the rage not the rage, but everything that's gone on the last whole season with.
I agree
with Casey.
100%. I think that he's justified given this weird season that he's had.
Yeah.
For that moment, but generally speaking, for a random person to do that doesn't have 4 kills under his belt in the last week. Yeah, I think it's a little much.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. You'd have to be in that situation. I'm kind of pushing things along here a little bit because we're about to watch season 9 on here, or episode 9. So, yeah. Well, I mean, it pretty much the final thing I want to cover is Jamie coming home and John just fucking kicks his ass out in the front yard.
Wails on him.
It's funny. It's kind of nice to see, if I'm being honest.
It's a funny situation because, like, I don't like either one of them really as a person. Like, John sucks. John's not a good dad, and he says it in the argument. Like, you're not doing this for me. You're doing it for you, and you're not anymore. Like, he makes it so abundantly clear, like, everything you should do, it should be for me. And if you do anything that's not for me, then that's wrong. And you're going to be out of this race because I have other shit going on, and you need to be here for me. And Jamie's like, what? No, this is what I've always wanted to do. And basically he just kicks his dreams out of him. Like, John sucks. This is like one of the only moments the show will ever have where you feel for Jamie because you see him cowarding to his dad like he's 10.
100%. And I thought the same thing, especially around this moment. It's like, I'm going to be, in politics. I'm going to do this. No, because you're not doing it for the land. You're not doing it for me and the family. I almost think it's a metaphor. They breed the cattle and they breed these animals for the land, for the family, for money, things like that. It's almost like instead of wanting a family, they wanted to breed to have kids to help the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think John doesn't see it as a passing down. Like he's using it as an excuse, really. He really does think, I think he's deluded himself to think that I'm being an asshole to them, but it's because I'm doing it for their own good. Like I won't be here forever, and I want them to be in my shoes and take this seriously and that kind of thing. But I think he uses it just as an excuse to be an asshole. I think he's kind of lost his way in a lot of ways. I think he's kind of got a death wish in a way. He's he's finally seeing the end of the tunnel with fighting cancer and everything. So I think that he's using all this as an excuse to be shitty to his kids because he's losing power to people that he doesn't have control over. So he takes it out on his kids.
I disagree to a degree because he's got 4 kids, right? And I think he wanted 4 cow hands, farm hands.
Who's the 4th one? Who am I forgetting?
Lee that died.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say there's not. Okay. Yeah,
but-
I'm not even counting him. We don't know him really.
Well, I'm talking about whenever they were, they had kids to help with the farm, and they wanted, so he wanted Lee to take over. He wanted everyone else to be farm hands, is what I'm guessing. Jamie is not a good farm hand, so he wanted him to be a lawyer. So he went and did that because he's smart.
Did we ever find out if John has siblings?
We have not found that out yet.
Do we ever?
I don't recall. Maybe. I don't recall.
Okay. Well,
it makes me curious. I really don't.
It makes me curious because he's kind of like a dictator and a king, but a bad king in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because he's got this weird dynamic where he has to pick somebody to be in his shoes because he's not gonna create a parliament here. He's not gonna have all of his kids have equal share. He's gonna, his ideology is, everybody needs to have a leader, and all my kids suck, and Lee's dead, so I guess rip.
Well, I mean, that was the thing, is Lee was going to be in charge, and when Lee died, back earlier in the season, I think that's why he said, I need Casey to be here, because Casey's going to lead this bitch. And I think going back to having kids, I think he wanted Beth probably to be a boy, and when she came out as a girl, she's not going to be a farmhand. So it's like, well, what can you do? Well, you're going to help with money.
I guess. I think a lot of times, especially with big families like this, they always look at the men to be able to handle all the brute. And whenever they have daughters, as long as they have sons as well, they look at the daughters almost as like they just like, you're not going to actually be the leader. They just look over it because it's a patriarchal kind of situation. So I don't know. I think he's probably more indifferent with Beth and would probably treat her fine if she hadn't been a part of their mom dying. And now he's got this weird dynamic with her that he gets to use that as her trump card 24/7. Anytime he needs her help for anything, she's like, well, you killed mom. And then she does it because she feels bad because he's a terrible father.
That's true. And I think he changes a little bit later on, but I really don't remember, if I'm being honest. But I think he does get better. I think the first season's almost just like a growing season. And if you show them how bad they are, then maybe you'll like them when they get better. I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to start watching the final episode.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, guys, thanks for following along so far. We wanted to stop real quick to talk a little about our main podcast. It's Apex Mountain, obviously, and Jacob, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically we pick an actor, actress, director, and we decide what their apex of their career is. We talk about some of our favorite movies. We usually do one movie a week. Every other week we switch people. It's a good time. Check it out.
Yeah, you can check that out on anywhere you listen to podcasts. So Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, anything. We also have a Patreon that you can go check out, where we're doing a lot of stuff over there. And, we're trying to start a community, and it really helps us out if we get some people over there, because we can produce even better content. So if you go check that out, patreon.com/Apex Mountain. We appreciate it. Back to the pod.
Ciao.
Oh, boy's got his hand on the gun.
I wouldn't trust him either. Everybody who comes here dies.
You sure you were here? I'm sure, sir. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Rat bastard.
Just forgot you picked this up, Sheriff. That's evidence.
Where'd you find it? This time, no bullshit.
Where he said.
Right where Rip said.
Says about 15 yards. Pretty damn close.
Shit, close enough for me.
That is self-defense, Sheriff. I have no idea why you would want to go ahead and disguise that.
I forgot I picked it up, okay? Jesus Christ.
Gentlemen.
Is this the beginning of 3 seasons of her just crying?
She's a fucking It's weird
said-
because I think she's gorgeous. Like, I think she really is like gorgeous,
Yeah.
but
I agree.
she's just boring.
You're so boring. You told me like right when we started this show that all she does is cry, and this is going to be the beginning of a very long relationship. I think that right there, that was the first scene.
Maybe it's the brain injury.
Oh my God.
You'll rot in prison for this. But you look at me. You look at him. You know how much the Yellowstone is worth? I think I'm gonna be the last person who's gonna want to take it. Let him hang.
Oh, God damn it. I missed a part.
Yeah, you just missed a casual hanging.
God damn it.
I'm assuming he dies. I don't know. We
Can you
didn't see that part.
Can you do your reenaction of it?
I didn't really have one, to be honest with you. I probably would have if you were present, but I was just absorbed into the moment. Like that?
Yeah. I'm going to put that in there.
Have that as the little clip. The little. Yeah, fuck that guy. I mean, whatever. Fuck that guy. Casey's lost his mind, at least temporarily. Where's he going?
So I wonder if like the people that are telling him, hey, just keep walking.
It'd be funny if like halfway through the pasture, like one of the Yellowstone trucks pulls up and just picks him up and drives him back to where he started. It's like, all right, let's go back to the house.
Cozer's like, are we good? They're like, no, keep walking.
A little bit further.
All right, welcome back. Let's get started with part 2. Now, we just watched it live if you saw any of that. So let's get right into it. So it starts off with the sheriff has some dementia, as we find out. He forgets about the casing that he picked up. John tells Beth to take Jamie off of the payroll. Rip brings in a new cowgirl stripper, and Jamie agrees to an exclusive interview. Beth has a weird interaction with Walker, which she's just being weird lately. Casey moves into the bunkhouse, and he had that look with the stripper, so
Something's there.
something going on there. And we find out Jenkins sucks at Hangman. What did you think of this episode?
I really enjoyed it. I kind of feel like I was expecting some more chaos. I feel like I was running up to Jenkins all season, and that felt kind of obvious. So I don't know. I thought that I would be a little bit more surprised. I don't know. I mean, we don't really know if he dies or not. I kind of almost presume not, almost like they cut him off last second. But if he is dead, I also would not be surprised. So, actually, it was weird for a finale. I felt like there was more character development than I expected there to be. So.
I agree, and for all intents and purposes, I watched this a couple days ago. I forgot we were going to do the live video, so I was already remembering what was going to happen, and I almost said let's not do the live one because it was anticlimactic. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the shock and awe that a season ending usually may have.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but it was a part 1, part 2 for episode 8 and 9. So they are directly connected by title and also by plot. And it almost felt like this was almost like an introductory episode for a new season. Like you know how some TV shows will leave you on a cliffhanger for the last episode of their season. And then the new episode of the next season will be kind of that transition and connection. And I almost feel like this episode was more so a season starter than a season ender. It felt a little weird knowing that, normally people would have waited for a new season. Us, of course, we'll go straight into season 2 next week, but I don't know. It felt kind of strange, the pacing of it.
I agree. It does seem like it could have a new episode next, and
Yeah.
it's weird that you're going to end on this and wait a whole nother year for season 2 to start up at the time. Luckily for us, we'll be putting that out next week. But
Yeah, definitely.
So after the whole grizzly bear crusade and the two deaths of the tourists, come to find out the sheriff tampered with evidence. I mean, to me, that was a little anticlimactic to begin with.
So yeah, so it tells you two things. One, tampering with some evidence apparently is all that it took. It doesn't change the fact that it takes that long to shoot 2 shots. It was besides the fact that the bear was really close to where he was standing. Like none of the facts of the case really changed except for the shell casings were picked up. I guess the shell casings are kind of proof on where he stood.
Yeah,
but at the same time, Rip could literally pick up shell casings and move them to where he wanted to be standing. I mean,
he could, but in the heat of the moment, because here's the thing is what they thought happened was he killed a grizzly bear because John wanted him to,
period. Yeah.
He didn't necessarily want him to kill it, but he wanted him to scare it off. He does kill it, and then the two tourists see him, and he kills them.
So that's my other thing. I think as calculated as Yellowstone is, as calculated as John is, and as even keel as Rip is, I think it's not within reasonable doubt that he would have thought to move shell casings if he felt like it benefited him. I don't think that he's a shell-shocked first-timer in a situation like this. So I think it's a little strange that that's all it took for the guy to be like, okay, we're good. Because if you just look at the framing of where the bear was and where he was standing, it makes enough sense. Like the shell casings to me was just kind of more so to show that the sheriff is a little sleazy. So my thing really was they don't care about these tourists at all. Like they're like, okay, the bear, we get the bear, moving on. Never think about the 2 people that died on that cliff again.
Yeah.
Which I thought was the crazy part, because you would think that it would be the other way around, where like Rip potentially killing 2 people would be more impactful than maybe defending himself against a bear. But I guess that's the situation that we're in the the environment.
I think it leads up to, is Rip telling the truth? And if the whole thing was like, it's not adding up, because the thing is, he wouldn't move the shell because the shell is not there, and that's why they're questioning him. Well, there's no shell here, so how are you telling me you shot a shot and then you reloaded and there was no shell to show?
Right.
And
which the sheriff was trying to frame him. And then once you find out that the sheriff was trying to frame him, then it's like, okay, he must be telling the truth.
Yeah.
Which to me would still be like, okay, we understand the bear part. Now what's up with the 2 dead people on the end of the cliff? But
well, his story was what actually happened.
Right, for the bear part. But I think
for the whole thing.
What do you mean?
Well, his whole story was exactly what happened, where he was going to rope them.
Right, which makes sense for us who saw it. But if you're just the person that shows up to the scene, you're like, okay, the shell casings and the sheriff being sketchy, I think it kind of makes sense for the bear part.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, what's the chances that 2 people are hanging out on the edge of a cliff? I think it is still far-fetched, even though he is telling the truth. I do feel like there'd be a little bit of a side investigation for the 2 people who died, but it's fine. It's a TV show. It's whatever.
That's true. That is true. So back to the house, John tells Beth to take Jamie off the payroll. It's kind of like a downswing. He's going from 100 to 0 with Jamie. No, not 100. He's never been 100 to Jamie, but he is Xing him off.
Stage left here.
And it's kind of weird. He talks a little bit later like it's freeing to him. And I mean, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's like,
I think he's lying.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's super scared, and that he's just saying that to try to make himself feel better and kind of lie to himself a little bit,
Yeah. And I'm sure that girl he's with isn't helping at all with that.
No.
Or whatever.
I'm already bored with her too. So
she is a little boring. Yeah.
She's just so one-dimensional and obvious. Like, shut up, Jamie. How do you not see that she's manipulating and using her? She's so I don't know, so obviously not trustworthy that she's a little boring, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So then it goes to the commercial break or whatever you want to call it, and then it comes back and Rip is at a strip club, and you're like, oh cool, Strip's this weird, or Rip is this weird dude sitting at the bar by himself.
It's turned into an HBO show really quick where we got a bunch of pointless boobs.
Exactly. And then come to find out he's trying to find an informant who happens to be of Native American descent, so that they can go to this area and where Rainwater's at without being obvious. And what she does is, records the interview between him and Jenkins. And so now John knows what those two are planning on doing.
Yep.
And the stripper actually wanted to be a cowgirl on the farm, and so on the ranch. So Rip allows her to go in and be one of the guys, which is kind of weird. It's kind of a weird moment, and I don't remember honestly what this leads to with her. I don't recall.
It does, just by the way that they've explained her. They don't show her off in the same way that they show off Jimmy, where it's like a slow burn.
Mhm.
Like I can tell the first time I met Jimmy that he's going to be around. Not to say that I know he's going to live through the end of season 3 or whatever. I presume that he will. You can always just kind of tell with a show whether or not you're supposed to grow with them or if they're just a temporary person.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like Jimmy is a very permanent person, and I feel like she's the opposite. I don't know what she turns into or what happens with her at all, but the way that she's introduced, it seems like, okay, we're going to get her backstory. We're going to get this connection with Casey. And then, I feel like there's going to be some moment where we lose her for one reason or another. I don't feel like she's a forever person, but maybe that's a misguided thought. I don't know.
I don't remember either necessarily. I will say there's another girl that comes in. I think she's in season 2. Her name's Scooter. Dude, she is
love that.
fucking awesome.
I love
She's
that.
so cool.
Scooter.
You're going to laugh your ass off when you meet her. But I know.
I laughed a lot in this episode. I thought this was a funny episode.
It was. There was a lot of like quick ones,
Yeah. What's your name? All right, get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been in prison for 7 years. You're the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met.
Dude.
And that's saying something.
You're the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met.
Yeah. But I will say Jimmy, like he's shown throughout this, but he's not really, he's just kind of like, oh, I'm a slow guy. I'm the farm guy that doesn't know how to do things.
Right.
Season 2, I know. I'm not going to give away if he stays or dies or lives or whatever you were talking about, but it does more of a focus on him, because this season was really just a focus on the Duttons.
Yeah.
All the kids and Rip.
Yeah.
This one's going to get more into.
I'm into Jimmy. I like Jimmy. I think that he'll be a really good character moving forward. I just feel like he's someone that's going to stick around, or at the very least be someone who's devastating when lost. But I don't think we'll lose him. I think he's probably, I know, I'm glad that you're not telling me anything, but just telling you and going out on a limb, I feel like we're going to be with Jimmy all the way through these 3 seasons.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a question for you now that we're here. Who do you have a prediction for next season? Who might leave or die? Who's
I mean, like I said a minute ago, they didn't really show Jenkins dying, so I could see Casey kind of turning around and being like, yeah, I'm losing it a little bit, but not necessarily going to kill somebody for no reason. But at the same time, we've already seen him kill 4 people. It's not like he can't. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of either way with Jenkins. I don't feel bad for him. I think he's a sleazebag and just an asshole, so whatever. But I think even if he does die, his story, what he's done and what he's started isn't going away. Rainwater got what he wanted from him, regardless if he lives or dies. And like I told you at the beginning of the season, I really like Rainwater's person. I think that his character dynamic is kind of interesting and is and pushes his moral dilemma onto John in a way that, like, oh, politics doesn't want you to have your land. That's not as interesting. So I'm really interested to see the growth and maybe fall of Rainwater in season 2. I'm excited to see how that plays out.
So I will say that season 2, there's going to be a new enemy of the ranch come in, and if we were doing a podcast, it would be the Who's That Guy, because this guy is always the bad guy in movies.
Okay.
And I don't know his name, but you're going to recognize him immediately. It's going to be
okay. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I love the Who's That Guy. I love that.
All right. So back into this. So Jamie agrees to an exclusive interview with the interview lady. That kind of does leave us on a cliffhanger. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. I'd say the other cliffhanger is Jenkins hanging. But other than that, again, we didn't really have any, shit, what's going to happen? We got to wait? Fuck, we got to wait.
I can't wait for Jenkins to live for season 2 and walk around with a terrible bruise all the way around his neck, and then him just act like he got it like in a car crash or something stupid. Like he lied about his like the last one. He's like, yeah, it's just car crashes, man.
Yeah,
He's
that
like
would be interesting.
He's like perpetually beat up all the time. But again, like I said, if he dies, I don't. It's fine. Whatever. I'm kind of done with him.
Yeah, he's kind of a doucher.
He is a douche.
His wife's a dummy too.
Yes, correct.
So then Beth turns around and she's got some mental problems. She's in this. She has this weird interaction with Walker there, where he's telling her like, this place is cursed. I want to get out of here, but they won't let me. She sees that he's got the brand and says, "Yeah, sorry, but you're not leaving." He rips her shirt off and says, "Where's your fucking brand?"
Yeah, maybe the funniest moment of the whole show, where he's like, "I don't see your fucking brand," and then she pushes him against the wall.
Well, it's supposed to be a serious moment because then she's like, "It's internal," but it's like, dude, I've seen that.
No, get out of here.
I've seen that moment 4 times, I think, and I laugh every fucking time.
Dude, he is so funny because he's so like country about it. It's just like, I don't see your fucking brand, and it just makes you laugh every time.
I love that you make fun of Method Brad Paisley because he's one of my favorite singers, and like, I would kill to meet him. It's just really funny.
Not Brad Paisley. You're talking about this Brad Paisley, prison Brad Paisley.
I said Method Brad Paisley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it's the facial hair. If he shaves his face, then he's not Brad Paisley anymore. But you keep this Fu Manchu thing, then you're Brad Paisley.
Yeah. Yep. So Casey moves back into the bunkhouse. Did you notice the little look he gave?
Yeah, definitely. Stripper? Yeah, definitely. They hung on that one for a while.
Yeah. So I remember seeing this, and I remember her being of the same what do you call it? Reservation as his wife.
Okay.
So I remember thinking, oh, okay, what's going to happen with this? Is there anything? So I guess
they definitely hang over that moment long enough for us to, as an audience, to be like, there's something there. So yeah. I took note to it, but I'm not looking into it. Just kind of we'll see in season 2, I'm sure.
Yep. And then finally, as it ends, Jenkins has a noose around his neck, hung from a tree, and then they slap him off the horse, and he's sitting there choking to death. Now, he doesn't fall. He doesn't snap his neck. He's literally just esophagus choking.
Yeah. Well, and then there's 2 things there. One, it seemed to me like Rip was ready to cut him down. It was telling Jimmy, go ahead and cut it down. And it was Casey's decision to just say, fuck this guy. And at the very least, just knock the horse out from under him and scare him. But at the most, kill him. We didn't really see it. That's one thing. And then the second thing I saw was it was clearly torture based because that noose wasn't arranged properly, I wouldn't think, for the classic neck break kill. You know what I mean? I think
no, he wasn't going to fall.
Right, exactly. But there's no I think there's a way that you can angle it, maybe more on the side that's more detrimental and speedy. Whereas the one that they had him was more just like
straight up.
Yeah, just hang here for a second and look like an idiot.
Now with that moment, it's kind of like, who is in charge of the Cowboys? Is it Rip or is Casey going to come in and take charge?
Right.
And they've had some bad blood throughout this season, so it's kind of like what's going to happen, the start of next season and things like that. So
I agree. I think that there's a good and there's a bad to that because, for one, Rip doesn't want to give away that responsibility. I think that he lives and dies for that. So I think he'll think negatively of it. But there's also a flip side to that where he doesn't like Casey because Casey walked away from the family. Well, Casey's right here with open arms again. So I could kind of see a version of Rip being like, yeah, welcome home, but you're still an asshole kind of thing. So I think their dynamic will be interesting. Plus, if it's good or it's bad, they're still the 2 best characters in the entire show. So, I mean, no matter what the dynamic is, I'm here for it.
For sure. I agree with that. And then obviously the very ending of the episode and season, John starts walking towards the mountains for miles and miles.
Literally no purpose at all. I guess just to look at the fence and turn around because the house is behind him. So
there's a moment, and man, I'm trying to remember if it's the start of season 2. So prior to you and I doing this, there was some 4-day weekend we just had, and Paramount Plus or Paramount, somebody had a nonstop series of Yellowstone going, and I had it on my TV all day, and I'd walk in and out, I'd sit down and watch for a minute. Right. And there's one part, I just don't remember where it's at, but it's John when he was younger and his dad, and it's like right before his dad dies, and it's probably my favorite moment of the whole series. And I don't remember if it's the start of season 2 or season 3. It's totally irrelevant.
Is this Sweet Home Alabama?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a flashback.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're getting more Josh.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot more of him.
I love it.
We'll continue to go back.
Yes, I love it.
So as we push forward, man, it's gonna be. I've been saying this all season, but it's gonna be more eye-opening. Oh shit! Now I know why Beth is fucked up. Now I know why Rip is so loyal. Now I know why John's a dickhead. Now I know why Casey is so fucked up. There's a lot of things. Not Casey. I mean Jamie. Casey
yeah.
too. Casey too. Because at one point, this doesn't give anything away, but John sits him down and is like, dude, you got to tell me what the fuck happened to you in the military. And he tells him a war story, and he's like, oh my God. So just kind of shows that like everybody's fucked up in their own weird ways in this show.
Yeah. I'm excited for next season. I really am.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So who you got winning season 1?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it's Kevin Costner yet. I don't feel like this is the best season of Kevin Costner is going to give me. So I'm going to put him on the back burner. I think it's either Rip. It's either Rip, Casey, or Jimmy. Jimmy, I don't think I've had enough yet. I'm going to wait to say that for season 2, which puts it down to just Casey and Rip. I think I'm going to get a lot more of both of them. But I'm more interested in Rip, I think, because Casey's writing was kind of dumb. They put way too much on his shoulders as a character in this, between the dinosaur bones and seeing people out in the country and weird reservation rapists. And he never got a day off, and it felt weird. I hope they slow down with his character a little bit. I think the winner for this season for me is Rip.
I can understand that, and that would have been my first thought. My second thought is Rainwater, I think, won the season. He took Jenkins' thought and kind of making it
and stole it.
His. And Jenkins is like, sure, bud, I'll fucking pay for it, whatever.
I'll pay for you to have all the power, and then I'll get myself killed in the process. See ya.
Yeah. So not only that, now he's in charge of the reservation, so he's got those people backing him, and then he's kind of got this weird mutual thing with John where they're both wanting the same thing. So he's kind of, Jenkins seems to not be on the same playing field, and he's playing for revenge, where Rainwater seems to be on the same playing field as John, and they're both wanting the same thing, and it's just a competitive nature of who's gonna win at the end kind of thing.
And they're both flawed in their own ways, where they both have ideologies that they think are pure and they think they're right, but in reality, both of them just want power.
Yep.
I mean, Rainwater's made it clear in short spurts as well that, he says it's for the reservation and for his culture, but I think ultimately he's kind of full of shit too. And if he could just take it for the simple fact of taking it, he would. So I think he's kind of almost like the mirror image of John in many ways, except obviously different in his own subtle ways. But I think overall their plot is similar, which I think is interesting. The best villain is a compliment to the hero. So
that's a good point. Cool, man. That's about all I got. It was a good season. Thanks for sticking it out with me. And next week we'll hit up season 2.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah. You got anything else?
Oh, that's it. I'm good.
All right. Go check out our Apex Mountain podcast on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Otherwise, thanks, and we'll see you next season.
Ciao.
Once again, thanks for stopping by. If you liked what you saw, check these videos out right here. Thanks.